welcome to another episode of Turn Left. I am your host, Indiana's own Dana Black, coming to you live, all the way live from Black Pearl Studios, where we talk about Indiana politics from the left side of things. I don't know if you can tell or not, but I have been basking in the sun. I have gotten a little chocolatey. I needed a vacation. I've been away for a little while. I kind of needed to get away and get some vitamin D versus, from nature versus in a pill. And I'm happy about that sun I got. I figure I have the most amazing surname. I might as well live up to it. Yes, I said that. How's everybody doing? I hope everybody is good out there. There's been a lot going on since I have last spoke to you, but I'm going to run down a couple of news articles first because I feel like they are important to all of our listeners so that you guys know what is happening around the state. The Washington Post reports the Indiana Supreme Court on Friday threw out a law that gave state legislators increased power to intervene during the public health emergencies, agreeing with the arguments from Republican Governor Eric Holcomb that the move violated the state constitution. The court's unanimous decision settles a legal fight that began more than a year ago when Holcomb sued over a law that was in response to his efforts to deal with the COVID-19 pandemic. The new law gave legislative leaders authority to call the General Assembly into emergency session if the governor declared a statewide emergency. The GOP-dominated legislature approved it over Holcomb's veto. Holcomb's lawyers contend that the state's constitution allows only the governor to call the legislature into meetings for consideration of a new law outside of its annual sessions that begin in early January and typically adjourn at the end of April. Chief Justice Loretta Rush agreed, writing for the five justice court that Holcomb's attorneys had satisfied the high burden required to establish that the law is unconstitutional. Under our Constitution, the General Assembly simply cannot do what the challenge law permits absent a constitutional amendment. I want y'all to think about this for a minute. Aren't these the, I'm a constitutionalist and look at it word for word and blah, 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 but they just gonna override the state's constitution? Well, the Indiana Supreme Court said, no, go sit down. Now, this will not stop Todd Rokita from spending our money frivolously. Please understand this, because you know that the legislature just overrode Governor Holcomb's veto on the trans bill. That means we're going to court because the ACLU has already filed a lawsuit. And he's going to fight that vigorously. So while Hoosiers are struggling financially during this crazy inflation that we got going on, that's how Todd Rokita spends your money filing lawsuits. He actually, in the course of these proceedings, tried to suggest that he was the only person that could represent the state. Can you imagine if that were the case? He basically said he was going to supersede and could supersede the governor. Now, I didn't go to law school. I am not a law school graduate. In fact, I've never taken any law classes. But I do know that him thinking as Attorney General, he had more power than the governor, leads me to believe that maybe he needs to go back to law school or at least go to the Google machine. One of the two, but he needs to do something. So, yay, we're done with that, but I promise you there'll be more lawsuits along the way. Speaking of inflation, Indiana's governor proposed a plan Thursday to tap into the state's growing budget surplus. Notice it says state's growing budget surplus, and send another $225 in payments to taxpayers to provide them with relief amid the worst inflation in 40 years. Governor Holcomb said he would call for a special legislative session, because he can do that now, before the end of June so that lawmakers could take action on this proposal. Now, I think this is fantastic, and I think it's absolutely wonderful. However, and we need that money. I want everybody to get that relief. However, I do know that Senator Melton asked the governor to go into a special session so we can talk about this constitutional carry law that passed. I'm wondering if that's going to happen. I mean, because what could possibly go wrong right? What could possibly go bad with people being able to go out and purchase any type of weapon that they want without some kind of, oh, I don't know, documentation of who they are and who bought it? I mean, you can't even drive a car without a driver's license. You can't do hair. You can't be a cosmetologist or a barber without a license. But you can now, thanks to the Indiana legislature, go out and purchase a weapon of destruction without any type of who's got it, where you got it, tracking of who's got it. Good luck with that. I just think it's horrible. I have your guns, Second Amendment rights, all that good stuff. But your Second Amendment rights should not supersede my right to exist on this planet without harm. But they got it. So maybe he'll call a special session. Senator Melton, don't hold your breath. That's all I can tell you. The NRA and the gun lobby, they are doing their thing. And of course, I said that we've been through a lot since I've been gone. First, the mass shooting in Buffalo. I mean, a white supremacist decided that, he alone should be the one to go in and exterminate Black folks in their community. We had a mass shooting in Los Angeles where another minority group was targeted. And then, of course, we had Uvalde, where babies, the pro-life people don't care about those babies who lost their lives in Uvalde. We also got the Supreme Court working to overturn Roe v. Wade. And this is about controlling a woman's body. And we know that there are state legislators that have bills ready to go to restrict you and send you back to the handmaid's tale. But let me give you some statistics, ladies. In the U.S. Senate, women make up 24% of our U.S. senators. In the U.S. House of Representatives, we make up 27.85% of House of our congressmen. And in Indiana, we only make up a total of 26% of elected officials in our state house. And to be clear, women, we are over 51% of our population in the country and 51% in our state. The fact that we're represented half of the people, means that we are underrepresented. And a lot of you sit around and talk about and tell yourself that you may or may not be ready, qualified to honestly run for office. Well, I'm gonna say this again. I say it all the time. 45 proved that he is not smarter than a kindergartner. So you too can run for office if that clown, if that orange menace can be the president of the United States. But just in case you are not sure and you want a little guidance and a little leadership, y'all know one of my favorite organizations in the state is here tonight. I got my girl, Amy Schwartz. I love this beautiful woman. She's full of life and full of love. She is here to talk about Hoosier Women Forward because the deadline is coming. If you are interested in applying to be in Class 5, the link is right there. And when she tells you about all the fantastic things and the reasons why you should apply for Hoosier Women Forward, I promise you, you're going to want to click the link. Amy, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Dana. Thanks for having me on tonight.
I'm so happy that you came. I love seeing your lovely face and that beautiful smile of yours. All right, Hoosier Women Forward, let's talk about it. Tell us who and what Hoosier Women Forward is.
Yes. So thanks for having me on tonight. You've been a great friend and supporter of Hoosier Women Forward for a long time. So I appreciate the opportunity to be here and talk about it today. So if you haven't heard of Hoosier Women Forward is a political and civic leadership training program designed to empower Democratic women to become more active participants in politics and leaders in their communities. That's our mission. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to change some of these factors about women being in elected positions, in nonprofit leadership, in corporate leadership, community leaders, everything about that. We are trying to empower women to be leaders in their communities. The way we do that is we have a group. We pick a group of women every year, no more than 24 women, through the application process, which is open right now. Applications are due on Wednesday, June 22nd. We pick a group of no more than 24 women to participate in our 9-month leadership training program. We meet once a month and we study different topics every month, and we get together. And the goal for you is to learn and grow in your knowledge and in your network so that when you graduate from the program, you are ready to go out and conquer the world.
I love it. And because so many women are already leaders, is there an age limit to this thing?
There is no age limit. We do, you do need to be 25 to apply, but there is no upper age limit. There's no limit to that leadership.
You know what? In Indiana, I hear a lot of people talk about, diversity and inclusion and all of that. Talk about Hoosier Women Forward's philosophy on making sure that every voice is heard.
Absolutely. It's very important to our board to make sure that we are choosing women who are representative of the entire state of Indiana. That means choosing people from every community in Indiana, every race, every background, every type of diversity, military service, LGBTQ, all kinds are important. And that's something that we are really looking for. We're looking for people who are going to go into their communities and make a change. And that doesn't start at the top. It starts from the grassroots. It starts from the bottom. So that's where we're looking for all different types of people.
And I love it. And listen, guys, this is class 5. And what I can tell you is this. So many of the graduates are elected officials now. They are candidates on the ballot and they're party leadership. There's places they're building a network. They're building a network of amazing, strong, and they call it a sisterhood. Sometimes I'm a little jealous that I'm not one because they just look like they had so much fun together. But it's an amazing, amazing organization. I'm not going to hold Amy very long. Robin, did you have any questions for Amy about Hoosier Women Forward?
All I can say is I'd love to be part of it. I'm going to make sure to get my application in by the deadline.
Oh, I love to hear that. I love that.
Yes.
Well, Amy, listen, I tried to get her to stay, y'all, because she's got some thoughts, but she's going to get out of here. Thank you so much for stopping in and talking to the people. If they have any questions, they can put them in the chat, in the comment section, and I will forward those over to you guys. We really love what you're doing and keep up the good work. Political director of Hoosier Women Forward, my friend, Amy Schwartz. I'll holler at you next time, Amy.
Excellent. Thanks so much. Have a good evening.
Take care.
Nice to meet you, Amy.
Nice to meet you too, Robin.
I'm going to wait for her to get clicked out of there. All right. So now it's just me and you, homie. It's just me and you. How you doing today? First up, I got to introduce my guest. Y'all know I get excited because it's that time of year where we're done with the primaries. When there's no more infighting. Thank you, Jesus. There's no more infighting. And it's all about how do we elect Democrats. So my guest tonight, my first post-primary guest tonight is a Kokomo resident running for the Indiana House of Representatives in District 30, which covers most of Kokomo, Eastern Howard County, Sims Township, and Grant County. Y'all, welcome to the show, Robin Williams. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on the show. I feel honored that I'm the first one since you've come back from your vacation.
Oh my God, listen, I almost didn't come back. Nicole kept telling me, no, let's stay. And I'm like, girl, we gotta go back. Indiana needs us.
I'm not mad at you. I'm getting ready to go on vacation tomorrow. So into San Francisco and wine country. So I'm looking forward to that.
I love it.
But I'm glad we had a chance to kind of connect with each other before.
Absolutely. I was going to make it happen because first of all, I got to tell you, all of your photos that I've seen are like so fabulous. I'm like, whoever's doing her photos, I'm loving it. Because you know what? Who needs to be stiff? Like, I like you had character and attitude in all of your pictures. So keep it up.
I've been in the arts my entire life, as a performer, as an arts administrator, as a cultural producer and curator. And, I've just been on stage, so running for state legislature, no problem.
I love it. I love it. All right, so let's get down to the nitty gritty. Tell the people who you are and where you come from.
Well, I was born in New York City. When I was about 7 years old, this guy named Trump bought our building in New York and everybody was kicked out, except for one lady who got the ACLU to help basically win a case against Trump. And she got to remain in the building, but we ended up moving to Indiana. I went to school in Kokomo. My family's been here in Kokomo since the 1850s. So we're some of like the founding forefathers of this area. Had a family farm, 600 acres. All of my family's been very much involved in the arts, in agriculture, in business here in this area for a very, very long time. I went to Indiana University School of Music in Bloomington, Kokomo High School, of course, then IU School of Music in Bloomington. And then I moved to New Orleans. And I lived in New Orleans and Atlanta for the last 40 years. I just came back in 2018 when my mother passed and inherited the house. And something in my spirit just told me, you have work to do here. I didn't know what that work was going to be necessarily, but I've always been, involved in the arts, 35 years as an arts administrator, cultural producer, curator. Worked in city, county, and state government, spearheaded the Garfield Park Art Center for City of Indianapolis in 2006. Yeah, so I know you worked for City of Indianapolis as well.
Yes, I did. I worked in the IT department. I was essentially the business analyst for IMPD.
Oh, okay.
Lots of jokes there. We're going to let that go.
I can only imagine. But yeah, so I was with the City of Indianapolis for some time, and then I got called back to New Orleans to spearhead the New Orleans Jazz Institute at University of New Orleans, and that was under the LSU system. So, that's the state of Louisiana. So yes, I'm familiar with city, county, state government, worked in those capacities. I've also worked in the prison system, working with women in the Indiana Women's Prison. So I've always been in touch with, what can the arts do to help transform people's lives? And that kind of what, inspired me to want to also serve in this capacity. My father ran for Congress, 5th District, back in the mid-90s, and he did not make it through his campaign. He died in the middle of his campaign. So that also was a big impetus for me to want to run for office and to kind of take the torch, run with it, and really finish the work that he started, because he was a tremendous influence on my life. He was a news journalist. He worked at the UN. He was bureau chief for Radio Press International way back in the day with Adelaide Stevenson and Uthant and that whole era in the 60s. He always had me involved and knowledgeable about what was going on in the world. And so, I'm taking Daddy's torch and I'm running with it, and I'm running for state representative here in Kokomo and Howard County.
I love that. And see, I'm a daddy's girl too. So, I
you get it.
the way you said it, I could tell you were a daddy's girl. The way you just even said daddy did this, that. I mean, really, I people often wonder why I dress the way I do. I tell them all the time, I get it from my daddy.
Of course. You got that style and that profile.
Man, listen, y'all should have met Buggy, honey. Buggy was the man, okay?
Buggy, really?
Running for office is never easy, right? I know that you worked in government, but you want to continue to work, but a lot of people say they want to continue to work, but what was it inside your core that said, I gotta do this?
I have a passion for people. I want to see people that don't have a voice have a voice. I need to represent people that don't have the means, they're disenfranchised, they're not being heard. Those are the people that I've always been interested in advocating for. And I've done that through the arts. The arts are definitely a reflection of the human experience, and the human experience is greatly informed by politics. So, people say we don't get the connection between the arts and politics. And I'm like, there's definitely a connection. you know, and then I have to kind of explain to them in that fashion, and then they kind of understand where I'm coming from. But I've always worked with community organizations, community partnerships. It was a very big, strong suit for me. And so this is just another creative way. I think that I have a creative approach. I'm not the kind of person that's going to shake hands and pass out cards and say, vote for me. I want to give people an opportunity to really be heard and be seen, have meaningful, robust conversation with people and understand what are their concerns, what are their needs, you know.
People being a people person is the first step, I think, and then being a servant, right?
Always have been, yes, yes, most definitely.
Of events that happened over the last few weeks, a lot that has impacted me personally. You know, how safe am I going to the grocery store? You know, I live in a predominantly Black neighborhood, or, you know, I have babies that I love who go to school. You know, how safe are they? You know, people talk about gun sense and gun laws and gun control and all of this other stuff. As a candidate running for office, tell us your thoughts on, you know, what we're seeing and maybe what you think we should be thinking about that we're not thinking about, or what you agree with or what you don't agree with.
Well, I mean, my opponent, he's this current Speaker Pro Tem of the House. He's been there for some time. Yeah, he will remain nameless, but he's been there for some time. He's been in this community for a while. I think people are ready for a change. I was at the Strawberry Festival the other day. There's about 7,000 people that come through that festival here in Kokomo every year. And I had amazing conversations with people. And we had a constituent concerns area where people could actually sit down and, you know, write out what some of their concerns were. It was great to go back and read through them, but more meaningfully, the conversations that I had with people, you know, just really, really touched me in my heart. A lot of conversation about gun laws, a lot of conversation about abortion laws and Roe versus Wade. Just concerns about how am I going to pay for groceries? How am I going to continue to buy gas? How am I going to take care of my 6 kids? You know, so there was people have some very heavy things on them right now. We all do, but it was interesting to hear different viewpoints about some of these issues. 1296 was voted on here in this area. You know, I don't think anybody's really concerned. I don't think our Republicans are too concerned about protecting the constituents, protecting the people.
Word.
I mean, I told people, I said, look, send me to the State House so I can protect you and your house. You know,
right?
I mean, it's unconscionable that you would vote for something like 1296, you know, reducing the age to 18, permitless carry. It doesn't make any sense. Like you said earlier, you know, you have to go through a vetting process to have a driver's license or a beautician's license or any kind of license. So why would you not have to go through a vetting process, education process, and pass through, you know, just a process to own a gun, to buy a gun? It doesn't make any sense.
Well, and the other part of that is that, you know, this is also the same group of people who swear they want to back the blue. Oh, I back the blue. I'm going to just give my soul to the blue. But when the blue said, could you not pass this bill? They said, oh, dog, you be all right.
Nobody was listening. Nobody was listening to that.
That's because they stopped representing us. They stopped representing the people. All they care about, this, it's not even like, you know, special interest. It's really self-interest. They want to keep getting that money. They want to keep padding their pockets. All you got to do is follow the money. You know,
I used to work with a blues musician named Wayne Bennett, and he always said, well, looks like there's too many hands in the cookie jar.
See, that's what's happening. And so, but it goes even further, you know, like the Supreme Court basically had to tell the legislature, back down. It is not your job to say when you will be calling yourself into session. But that's another piece of legislation. The 1134, I know that you felt strongly about 1134. For those of you who don't know, 1134 was really going to cause a lot of problems for our teachers. We already have a teacher shortage, and they were like, if this thing passes, I'm out. Why was that one so significant for you?
And even though it wasn't successful, people are still leaving. The teachers are still leaving. It's significant for me because I'm an educator as well. I spearheaded arts programs in Indianapolis, and we train teachers to meet curriculum standards. Well, I think that's important for teachers to understand how to meet standards, but they also have to have some autonomy, some creativity to kind of teach in a way that they feel passionate about. They need to feel empowered to teach and not imprisoned by politics.
Right.
So, as someone who's trained teachers and has worked with educators my entire life, from kindergarten all the way up to college level, I just can't imagine what people are going through right now and wanting to go, back to the classroom, or even considering not going back to the classroom at all, just because of the things that are happening. I saw something the other day was really interesting. It said, there were pictures of Ruby Bridges going to school in New Orleans, right? And the same grandparents now that were throwing rocks at Ruby want to make sure that their grandkids don't learn about them throwing rocks at Ruby.
Right. It's crazy. We were down in Little Rock.
We can't teach history anymore. We can't teach what's happened in the world and how it's affected what's going on now. I mean, it's just amazing to me.
It is. Nick and I were just down in Little Rock, and I went to Central High School. You got to do the Central Rock 9 and seeing, first of all, the building itself is incredibly beautiful. Like, how you see the pictures of it and you're like, that ain't no real high school. No, it was a for real high school, and it is so beautiful. The grounds are beautiful, and obviously now, because it's infamous but famous all at the same time, right? And the pride that people in Little Rock take in, their footprint on moving Indiana forward. A lot of it. I feel you on the fact that these folks are like, yeah, the Pilgrims landed, the Native Americans taught them how to survive on the land, and then poof. The Native Americans just decided to go on a spaceship to Mars because they don't explain where they went, or they don't explain how, the country was built, or how cotton became king, right?
Let me share a little story with you.
All right.
In New Orleans, I had I got married to a biracial man who's a great jazz musician. We had a beautiful multiracial daughter. At 3 years old, she went to a Catholic school in New Orleans. And it was Thanksgiving, and it was time for them to do their little play or whatever their little drama thing was going to be. And she came home and she was crying. I said, Colette, what's the problem? She says, well, they want me to be a pilgrim, and I don't want to be a pilgrim. I want to be an Indian.
Hey.
And I got a call from the teacher. Now she's 3, okay? I got a call from the teacher. She says, well, we're having a problem with Colette. And I said, well, I kind of heard some of it. She goes, well, she told all the kids that the Pilgrims killed the Indians.
Yeah. They don't want to hear that.
I was like, you're 3 and you already know the history. Why? Because your dad is half Native American. So of course he's going to explain even at 3 or 4, the real history.
And did you ask the teacher, where's the lie?
She said, well, we just don't know what to do with her. And I said, well, I think what you need to do is let her be an Indian for this particular drama and this particular activity, but understand that not everybody goes along with the narrative that you have presented there, and that, we teach real cultural lessons to our child.
I love it. And see, I'm listening to you talk about your love of the arts and your love of music. Music is that universal language, right? It is the thing that brings people together. I often do surveys on who's your favorite blue-eyed soul brother. You know what I'm saying? Or who doesn't like Eminem, right? So there's crossover in music in ways that we wish we had in other areas of our culture. Like Silk Sonic right now, which is my favorite group right now, is essentially someone from Hawaii and a brother from Oakland, and they then got together, and these are 2 different cultures creating this amazing music together. You know, and I love that you talk about how you took your arts into the criminal justice system. What made you
Oh
do
my
that?
God.
That no, most people are scared. What made you do that?
Well, a friend of mine told me, well, they suggested that I go in. When I first got back here, I was working on an exhibition project based on my book. It's called Rhythm, Ritual, and Resistance: Africa is Alive in the Black Indians of New Orleans. And I did like 20 years of research. I have a master's in ethnomusicology,
Hey.
which is kind of like the study of world music and culture. And so, and exactly, how does music reflect cultures from around the world, and how does it bring, disparate people together? So, I mean, I'm very passionate about this subject, but the Black Indians in New Orleans have carried on 400 years of masquerade traditions from Africa. And so, and it's an amazing thing because you see it on the streets of New Orleans every year at Mardi Gras, and it's just absolutely stunning. But I wrote a book about these sort of African cultural retentions, right? And so the Center for Black Culture and Literature in Indianapolis asked me to create an exhibition based on the book, which we had just installed at the Smithsonian Institution Library. And so I was there working on that project. And then a friend of mine said, hey, they need somebody to teach art in the prison system. And she said, do you want to do it? And I said, yes, definitely working with women. Yes, I do. What a great opportunity. Not an easy place to be, my friend.
Right? Well, obviously not. Yeah.
But let me be clear with you. The women were extremely talented. They were extremely grateful. It was the people working in the prison system which were, the concern that I had.
Yeah.
They were not for it.
What
They
was your
didn't want to
greatest
see these
takeaway from
women.
that experience?
I mean, they didn't want to see the women grow. But let me tell you this. There was one young lady who actually helped me. She was brilliant. She was a photographer. She just made a stupid mistake. She was there. She had studied for 3 years at Columbia College for the Arts in Chicago as a photographer. She never finished, right? And so every day we would talk about, when you get out of here, you need to make a plan to finish your degree. She was interested in photojournalism. I encouraged her every day we had these conversations. Let me tell you, what I was able to take away from that is just literally a couple weeks ago, I was invited to her family's house. She got her degree. She's getting married to a PhD candidate from Purdue. Her life has completely moved forward. And her sister looked at me and she says, we're so grateful to you. We never thought this day would happen.
Wow.
So to see, that was, if there was just one thing that I came out of there with, a success story, that was it,
That's amazing.
And she helped me teach the art class. And she, is Mexican-American, beautiful lady, just incredibly talented and super brilliant. And she helped me teach about Frida Kahlo. We did a whole curriculum thing on Frida Kahlo. And it was really transformational for these women. By the end of the program, we did a beautiful exhibition, and everybody from the prison was just in shock. They couldn't believe how talented these women were. So, we've got the lady, she just graduated. We had another lady that we sent to LSU to study art out of that program. So I'm just thrilled that I was there. You never know what kind of impact you are going to make on people.
Yeah.
And so back to, having an opportunity to speak to constituents the other day, I made an impact on some people. There were people with MAGA t-shirts on in my booth.
Now you're doing something.
What I had to say, if I could turn somebody around, if I could have that kind of conversation, you have to meet people where they are and really hear them, because on some level, people have been indoctrinated. You know that,
honey. What? There's a whole bunch of folk out there. You just read some of the stuff that they tweet or Facebook, and you like, what? What? Where are you coming from? Get your head out the sun. I mean, out the sand or whatever,
But when you're eye to eye and toe to toe with people, that's the best.
Yeah.
Because then you can really turn someone's head around.
Yeah.
You really can.
So,
I mean, for somebody that I could look at and say, when they walked up to me, we know you're Republican. We know you're voting for these things. But by the end of the conversation, you're signing up to have a yard sign with my face on it
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
your yard.
Yeah. That's
I
dope.
think
That's dope.
I
But
was able to reach somebody,
yeah.
So whether you're reaching a woman in the prison system and seeing that success story, or you're reaching somebody in your community and you can get them to think in things a different way,
Mm-hmm.
shift the paradigm, man, to me, it's all worth it. And it's all a creative endeavor,
I love
you
it.
know?
So now that you went in and you taught this class in the prison system, and you talked about how wonderful or how talented the women are, and they made mistakes, and then you mentioned that the people running it, right? We know that criminal justice reform is at the top of the list. Talk about share what you've seen, or share what you can see, and where we really need to address how we are managing our prison system.
It's bigger than just seeing the end result. We've got to see the entire process of how that woman got there.
Mm.
And what I do know about my community here is we've got terrible issues in drug addiction, and they're trying to build more recovery centers, but I don't really see how it's really making an impact on the men and the women who are going through these issues. I'm not seeing it.
Right.
And then a lot of these women end up going back into the prison system. There's just not enough of a system set up for people to be successful.
Right.
So, and there's a ton of money, okay, especially from this Recovery Act money.
Come on now.
Going into building these new centers.
Like a Democrat.
The READY funding, which has been rebranded by the Republicans in this state, okay, but it really came through the Democrats, but it's been rebranded to make them think that they're the big saviors here. So
yeah,
you know what I'm talking about.
I do. These folks,
Yes.
they but that's why we have to have legislators that understand what to do with the tools that we have. There's lots of tools out there, but a lot of people don't want to implement them because it's a waste of time, or they feel like it's a waste of time, or they feel like it's a waste of their energy, and they don't want to give up any energy for other humans. But that's the whole point of legislating, right? And in the House and Senate, we saw a lot of crap bills come out, and we saw where the will of a few outweigh the will of the many, because who's being represented and who's not being represented. But when you're out there on the stump and you're telling your story, what are the three main issues your three main campaign issues that you're talking to about with your constituents while you're out there in hitting the streets?
Well, I think the first one is education.
All right.
And so we've got to reimagine what education is supposed to be and how it is going to serve our kids. Okay. What are we really teaching them? If we've got young people that are 18 years old that are immediately going out and buying guns and shooting everybody up, that means they've got some kind of indoctrination that's happening. I'm just, if they have no understanding from whence they come and the history of the world and the history of society, then they're not going to have any grounding or no foundation to work from.
Mm-hmm.
If then they're ripe for indoctrination. And so we got to change that.
So you mean there's more than reading, writing, and arithmetic?
Social studies are super important. Learning how to live in the world that we're in is super important. But understanding and getting that history, I'm a history buff. I've written a book on history. Right. I just think that the social studies piece is extremely important. Civics. And I'm gonna
ask an obvious question before you get to your other 2 points, and I imagine you're going to jump on this something good. How important is it to have the arts and creativity in school? Because those are always the first programs that get cut. Music, gym, art. How important do you think those activities are for students?
Like I said, the arts are a reflection of human experience. So the arts represent being human. Okay.
They don't want humans, they want robots.
The core of our soul, the core of our humanity. So I don't even understand why anybody would want to take the arts out of schools. But I tell you this, one of the reasons we were successful in raising about $1 million to institute after school arts program is because the schools had taken it out of the school day. And so we said, well, if we're not going to have it in school, then we're going to implement it in the after school program. And we were able to do a multicultural arts program back in 2000, which I designed for At Your School, AYS in Indianapolis. We were in 54 schools. We started with 5 pilot sites, and then we expanded to all 54 schools. And I felt it was really, really important to have a multicultural theme because kids were learning about the world around them and really learning about each other and how to embrace one another's differences. So, you know, I was doing that back in 2000. Now it's DEI and it's mandated.
What? Yeah, it's got a
Right?
name. It's got a name and a price
But-
tag to it now. So
It has a price tag too.
what are the two? Go ahead and knock out your other two.
Well, I mean, civil rights covers a whole gambit of things. You know, when we look at LGBTQ, TIA, whatever, all of the all of the above.
The alphabet soup, honey.
that-
I'm okay with that.
I know that's rooted in civil rights. You know, the civil rights movement, except you have been able to take it and expand it and you know, really you know, get it out there in a different way. But you know, I lived in Atlanta for some time. I was really blessed to be around people like Stacey Abrams and Andrew Young and C.T. Vivian and, you know, people who really were stalwarts historically and now contemporarily in civil rights movement. And so I learned a lot from that. Got to write for the SCLC magazine. SCLC is King's Legacy organization in Atlanta. And so civil rights is a very big, important thing to me. Again, representing people who do not necessarily have a voice, who need someone to advocate, who need somebody to be in the legislature to, you know, make sure that, you know, these things are protecting them. Then also for veterans and definitely women's rights. You know, I started talking about women's rights before this Roe versus Wade issue and situation
Honey,
came up.
what? I mean,
And being in the prison with the women was a big thing too. I mean, I saw all the things that were happening in that construct, in that environment, that was just absolutely, you know, derailed a lot of these women from even moving forward or getting out and changing their lives, you know. So it's great to see some success stories, but I'm sure that the 2 out of the 20 that I had in my class, good to see the success, but what is going to happen to the other 18? You know?
right. And I think the other thing is like, you know, being a female candidate in Indiana, in America for that matter, because we're still lagging behind. I read the statistics earlier. It is difficult because you even have women who, you know, we always talk about people voting against their interests. Some women don't want the right to do what they want to do with their body. They want somebody else to tell them what to do, and they're skewing the whole thing.
My cousin was telling me the other day, he's a veteran, he's a Vietnam vet, big time in the veterans community here in Kokomo. And he says, you know, I've seen too many women vote the way that their husband vote. They're not looking at their own interests and looking at a strong female candidate and saying, we need her advocacy. I'm going to vote what my husband's voting over here. You know, stand up for yourself. You've got your own vote. You go by yourself into that polling place. Go in there and vote in your best interest.
And sometimes they think their best interest is what they do take care of. I don't understand that. I am an independent woman who often, you know, has a hard time like delegating and asking for help and all of those things. I can't even imagine turning my whole thought process over to another human being. And I'm lesbian, and I love women, and I like the way women think, but they not helping the cause any. And the other thing that drives me nuts about all of this is, you know, we in America, especially on the other side, they talk about freedom. They talk about their freedom, not your freedom. And it just drives me nuts. Like, oh, I can't have what you have. I can't get down with what you getting down with. I can't have my freedom. You can have your freedom, but I can't have my freedom.
Every woman, you said something about The Handmaid's Tale. I've been watching that show And it's just amazing to me because they start making the show back in 2016,
Yeah.
2017, maybe? Yeah, a lot of these things that we see in the show, I mean, to the extreme, obviously, but those things are starting to happen.
It's crazy, but we knew it was going to happen because too many people want power and they want to control power, and I just think it's really, really frustrating that I have to sit up and have a conversation about autonomy over my own body. Because see, the thing is this: if they can tell you and they can mandate you must have a baby, there's going to be somebody mandating that you are not allowed to have a baby. So because it swings both ways. Please trust, know, and believe. It's coming back the other way. And that is it's what it's about. Body autonomy. If you can tell me I must have a baby, then you feel like you have the right to tell me I can't have a baby. And how dare you? Because look at, we lesbians and gay men are having babies every day. Because see, in their mind, homosexuals really ain't supposed to be able to be together if you can't make a baby. Well, we done showed you science is an amazing thing and we can make babies. In fact, if I want, I could, well, not me personally, but if I wanted to, I could carry my girlfriend's baby. It's just that simple. Science is amazing. They always act like we can't make babies, like we don't have the same anatomy as straight people. But those are the things that I worry about. And they coming for gay marriage. They coming for all these other things. I'm just gonna shut up. All right. So
I had a lady who had the 6 kids, right? And she says, well, I can't believe that, you would be for abortion. I said, I'm not saying I'm for abortion. I'm for choice. I'm for your body, your choice. Well, I didn't take the vaccine, she said. I said, well, that was your body, your choice. You chose not to take the vaccine. You chose to have all those 6 kids.
Right?
That was your body, your choice. It was your choice to have the 6 kids. And you're happy with that. So it's my choice not to have a child if it's going to endanger me in some way, or it's just my choice.
Exactly. Period. And then to not have exceptions.
Once I shifted that whole lens of understanding for her, she got it.
See, and the fact that you don't even want to have exceptions for rape and incest. What? See, okay, people gonna be mad when I say this. They're gonna be real mad when I say this. But we have a man problem. Nobody wants to call it out, but we got a man problem. We got men who feel like they need to go and shoot up everything because I haven't seen a female mass shooter yet. It may have happened and I don't know about it, but a school shooting, they all been dudes. They've been young dudes. And the last time I checked, women raping women don't make women pregnant. So we have a dude problem, and I'm gonna need my real dudes, the real fellas that are really about it, to get your boys in check, because they're wreaking havoc on our society.
But they should not be making those decisions. That's why we need more women in the State House.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay?
More women in the State House.
We need to be there to be tenacious about it and make sure that our voices are heard in this process. If this gets overturned, which it probably will, okay, Roe versus Wade is overturned, then it means that the states are going to make these decisions individually.
Absolutely. And it's scary indeed. All right, so you
the other thing is Senator Braun. Did you see Senator Braun talking about interracial marriage? And of course, that touched me to the core. I wrote an article for the New York Times in 2017 about interracial marriage and about this, the 50th anniversary of Supreme Court decision, Loving versus State of Virginia. So I wrote an article about that. They were going to bring him to speak at my place of employment. I told them that I was not particularly happy about that. It was a personal thing for me. I wanted to recuse myself from being at the event, and they were not pleased with me about that. So I'm like, you got to understand, you're going to bring somebody in here who's talking about reversing something that's been done for a long time, wants to take us all the way back to the 1960s, So it's like,
and he got his own problems. He got his own problems with his his FEC filings that are all messed up. He got it. I mean, he can't even do his accounting right, but he won't tell us what to do with our bodies, right?
he is just an example of the entire thought process that is surrounding our lawmaking in this state at
Yes.
this time,
Okay.
and this country.
My next question. This is a good one, right? You win the election in November. You at Org Day in late November, early December. What is the first piece of legislation you either write or sign on to?
Well, I had an experience the other day. There was an older woman that came up to me. She was in a wheelchair, and she said, "Will you take a walk with me?"
Mm.
And luckily, I had somebody in the booth with me, and I said, "Let me take a walk with her. She has something she wants to tell me." And we started going down the street here in downtown Kokomo, and she said, "Do you see that place right there?" And I said, "Yeah." She says, "I can't go in there. I don't have access to it." So she started talking about ADA accessibility. I know this is a problem all over our state, but it's not being addressed. There are no regulations being put in place within my district, obviously, because there are too many places. When I took a walk with her just in downtown Kokomo, that this woman has no access to.
Mm.
By the time she got back to my booth, I said, "Could you please write down some of these things? I'm going to follow up." And then I sent her over to the lady who's running for on the Democrat ticket for commissioner, because I said, from a state level and a local level, we can attack some of these things together. We need you to vote for us, and because we will make some changes. So I think that's something. I know it's not within the realm of what's the hot topics right now, but she was in tears by the time she got back to the booth.
Wow.
She was in tears when she was sitting there writing about her, her challenges. And when you're not in that situation and you don't think about, you do notice things, obviously. I've written grants for ADA accessibility for arts organizations. But just to walk around the square, and she pointed at all the places she has no access to, that really resonated with me for some reason. I just said, okay, when I get there, I need to start doing something.
I love it. I love it. And
Yeah.
and the ADA community is special to me, and for multiple reasons. I was in a relationship with an individual who had mobility issues and saw for 11 years what it was like having to, not just, the difficulties in finding parking spaces or jackasses parking in the stripe space.
Right.
It's true story. It was an accident. So it was cold. And when you're in those wheelchairs, going through that cold air cuts, right? And so we were in the grocery store, and I was like, I'm gonna go ahead and open up the ramp so that she can, wheel on in and won't be that cold. I opened up the ramp without looking, and there was a Porsche next to it. They had parked in the stripe lane. We're in the handicap parking spot, and the stripe
Right.
lane for the ramps to come out. They had parked their
Yes.
vehicle right there. I didn't see it because I was inside, and I was like, I'm gonna go ahead and open this up so she can. Oops, you shouldn't have been there, but
Wow.
But I learned ADA, and then I also did a rally for the deaf community, because I was like, I don't know what to do, until I got out there and I saw all the signs, and they were talking about access and equality and opportunity. I'm like, shit, they want the same thing I want, right? So it was really easy. So yeah, ADA I'm a fan. So if you need somebody to help hype that up, you let me know, because you're gonna win.
The lady, she touched me. She touched me, and I told her, I said, "Look, I promise you that when I get in here, I'm going to do something."
I love it.
So that's definitely number one on my list right now.
I love it. All right.
Yeah.
So we've come pretty much to the end of the show. This is a great conversation. I hope that you and I get a chance to talk some more, because Kokomo ain't but up the street. And since, you a friend of Abby Smith's, I know you cool, right? I want to sit down and talk to you some more, because I feel like you're the kind of voice in our state that we need. I would love to, see you, after your campaign is over, how we can, utilize your seat in the State House and get you out talking to people, because your arts conversation, your not just about, tokenism, but real inclusion, because it's in your space and in your world. And sometimes, honestly, real talk, it comes differently from you than it does from me. And if we can utilize that voice, doggone it, I'm gonna utilize it. And the lessons that you've learned, I think you would be amazing in our State House. So that being said, if
Thank
you
you.
like anything that Ms. Robin Williams has said tonight, her link, yes, her donate link is right there on the Act Blue page. I'm sorry. It's right there on the Facebook page and her Act Blue link. Feel free to click on that and donate to her campaign right now.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
We need more than just money.
This is a challenge, my friend. This is a challenge. This particular race is going to be a challenge, but all of my friends and people who know me well know how tenacious I am, and I don't back down from a challenge.
I love it.
So
do you have any fundraising events coming up soon, or any canvassing events coming up soon?
Well, we've got a team that we put together of a wonderful, dynamic young people here in this community. We do plan on having a fundraiser soon, and I will share that information. Hopefully you can disseminate it out to your audience. I know the Democratic Party is planning on something, because we do have some women running. We've got Lisa Washington running for commissioner. Of course, Janine Lee Lake is running for 5th District Congress seat. So
I've already reached out to her to have her come back on the show.
Right, exactly. So we've got some really strong women with some really amplified voices in this community, and it's time to kind of, batten down the hatches and lock arms and really, present a consolidated front.
I love it. And where can the people find you?
Best place to find me is on Facebook. I post every day. I've got something to say about something every day.
My kind of sister.
You'll get a really good essence of who I am and what I'm about and what I'm getting ready to do in the State House from looking at my Facebook page at this point. And of course, all the links to fundraising and things and events that are happening.
I love it. You know what? Good luck to you. I'm
so
certain
much.
I'll see you, down towards the end of the year, towards election time. Like I said, it's not easy being the first person after the primary. You think it's cool, but you got all the way to November. It'll be here quick, but you were the first
There's
one.
a lot of work to do, my friend. You know that.
Right? It's every day, all day. Thank you so much for joining us here on
Thank
Turn
you.
Left. All right, y'all, listen. It's Pride Weekend in Indianapolis. I'm so stoked and so excited. Indiana Stonewall Democrats have been doing amazing things, and we have an amazing lineup of people who are walking with us in the parade. There was a time, you have to remember, there was a time when, the Rainbow Warriors, nobody wanted to touch us, nobody wanted to get near us. Now we've got elected officials and candidates, obviously all Democrats, who are walking with us in the parade. That's how wonderful and powerful and amazing it is to be a Rainbow Warrior out here. That y'all attacking our trans kids. We're not going to stand for it. We're not going to sit down and let you have it. You're attacking women's rights. We're not going to let you have it. Indiana Stonewall Democrats will be in the parade. Y'all make sure y'all wave at us. All right, next weekend. Outside of my birthday, election day, primary election day, it's Big Dem weekend. Listen, this is when we have our state convention. If you have not gotten your tickets for the HH Dinner, it's a huge fundraiser. Get your tickets, come hang out. If you're a delegate, I look forward to seeing you at the convention. There's so much that's going to be happening. I am so excited about Big Dem weekend, but even more importantly, I just got through bragging on Indiana Stonewall Democrats. We are bringing down from Minneapolis, my good friend and the first trans president of any council in the country, Councilwoman Andrea Jenkins. You guys are going to hear from this warrior and the work that she's been doing. So make sure you get your tickets. We're going to be at Cafe Pas de Choux on June 18th after the convention's over, right? From 5:30 to 7:30. So make sure you guys come and hang out with Stonewall, have a cocktail, and meet this amazing, amazing leader who, in Minneapolis, they doing things like they talked about police reform. They elected the people that could write police reform. She is a part of that group, and I cannot wait. So listen, summer's heating up. I'm bringing you back candidates. I ain't gonna lie. I went on vacation. I'm still apologizing to people that I owe emails to, but I will have a full lineup of candidates. And if there's somebody that you think I should bring on the show that you don't think I've reached out to, slip it in my box so I can reach out to him, because I'm doing all levels of government. There's no office too big, no office too small. We want to make sure that any candidate, any Democratic candidate that wants to get on the ballot, it's on the ballot and wants to come on the show, you can hear from them, you can support them, because you know what? It starts at the ground level, grassroots level. We have got to start taking care of township boards, school boards, and council seats, right? Township trustees. Those are the offices that we have to start at. We start at the grassroots level and make sure that we build it up. And that's how we become a strong state party. We're getting there, but we just got to put the work in. And it's not a sprint, and it's more than a marathon. This is a journey. All right? This is a journey, and human lives are at stake, and I want you all to take it as seriously as I do, but have some fun with it.